Hello and welcome to the Pleasurepreneur podcast. This podcast will help you create what you desire in your business with pleasure. Whether that be calling in your ideal clients, making more money, or creating a balanced business life blend. I'm your host, Regan Fig, pleasure and business coach, published author of A Mother's Pleasure, wife and mama to 3 little wildlings. However you're choosing to listen to this podcast, ask yourself, how can I make this more pleasurable? And do just that. I acknowledge the custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded and produced, the Wadi Wadi people of Dharawal land. Now, let's proceed with pleasure. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. It is so great to have you here. So this is a recording from an Instagram live training I did recently, the Insta live training of the year, sharing with you my Pleasurepreneur Framework to create multiple 4-figure months in your business whilst leading a pleasure-filled life. Because why would you want to do it any other way? If you're a visual person and you want to watch the live, I'll pop the link in the show notes for you below. And if you're loving this process for amplifying your income whilst remaining energized and inspired and connected with what matters to you most, send me a DM on Instagram at Regan_Fig with 2 Gs, and let's talk about whether the mastermind is right for you sooner rather than later. The mastermind already has 3 women enrolled and only 5 spots left. So send me a message if you want to talk about the mastermind, or if you're curious and you simply want to learn more, you can head to reganfig.com/mastermind or click the link in the show notes for all of the details. All right, now let's proceed with pleasure. Hello and welcome to this live training on the Pleasurepreneur Framework. It's the framework that I use to create multiple 4-figure months in my business, sometimes 5. It's what I use to help my clients create the same. And we do that leading a pleasure-filled life, because why would you want to do it any other way? Hello and welcome. Hi, we've got Simone, we've got Alana, we've got Abby. Hello. So this is the live training of the year, I'm calling it. And it's been a big year. It's been a great year. And it's also the live that you want to watch. If you know that next year, or even starting right now, you want to start calling in multiple 4-figure months in your business. So that's you're looking between that 2 and 9K per month whilst leading a pleasure-filled life. And what I mean by that is your definition of what's pleasurable for you, what is enjoyable for you, what is related to your top values. So today I went out for a surf for a couple of hours with my husband and a friend. And now I'm doing this live training. I've got a client call. I've got a media interview, which is actually quite unexpected and a bit random next. But this to me is what it looks like to lead a pleasure-filled life. Yours might look a little different, and that's okay. Part of this work and this framework is to help you see what is a pleasure-filled life for you. What does that look like for you whilst you're creating this incredible income and impact in your business? So maybe for you, that looks like spaciousness and time and energy to spend with the people you love, to do the things that you enjoy, and to really nourish yourself. Making more money, signing more clients, growing your business, creating a greater impact in the world does not necessarily mean that you have to work harder or more. I'm living proof of that from day one in my business after having perinatal mood disorders, and which was like anxiety, postnatal depression, insomnia after my first. I'd recovered from that. I had my second babe. And of course, there was some fear about that happening again. And instead of that happening again, I kept getting this desire to start my coaching business. And I kept putting it off, because in my mind, I thought, when you're growing a business, like obviously that has to be your priority. That has to be where you focus your time, especially those early years. You've got to grind and hustle. And I don't have a lot of time. And anyway, this desire kept tapping me on my shoulder. And so I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to commit to this. I'm going to play with this. I'm going to make an experiment, and I am going to let myself launch my business, but under the condition that it has to be done in a way that brings me pleasure. It's done in a way that it's driven by my desires. It's done in a way that means I can do what I want in my business. I can achieve what I want in my business. I can help the people that I want to help in my business. And also, I can have the life that I want outside of my business as well. And I can let the two blend together and create such beautiful synergy, not in spite of each other, but because of each other. And that is what I help my clients do. That is what I can help you do. Now, this Pleasurepreneur Framework is what we really hone. Well, it's what we use in the mastermind. So the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind, which the doors will be opening as of today for early February. So this framework, take it with you, play with it, start to audit your own business or start to lay some beautiful foundations using this framework. It has been tried and tested from myself, my clients, and obviously when we're in the mastermind together, when we're working together, we are applying this. We are going so much deeper. And we're applying it to you and your business and your desires and what is authentic and aligned for you, what your top values are, what pleasure is defined as by you. Hello, Laura. Welcome. Okay, so a little bit about me. I started to share that, my business started only a few months after recovering from postnatal depression and anxiety and insomnia. I had a newborn and a 2-year-old and a desire to help other women experience more pleasure in motherhood. So I started as a pleasure coach. My background is in exercise physiology and yoga and meditation. And so with the exercise phys part, I had my studies in neurology, psychology, physiology, all of those kind of things. So I understand how the body works, how the brain works, behavioral psychology. And so that paired with my yoga and meditation, plus I'm a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, all of these things together, I was like, plus my experience of having those perinatal mood disorders, I have been helping mothers for the first few years in my business. I was helping mothers experience more pleasure within their lives, within their bodies, within their relationships, within their motherhood experience, within their day-to-day, experiencing more simple pleasures. And as my business started to grow and evolve, I started attracting other women who were like, hey, you look like you're having fun growing your business. Can you show me how to do that? And turns out I absolutely love working with women in business. I absolutely love sharing how you can create such great money in your business and also create such spaciousness and such pleasure and enjoyment. So I feel like that's enough about me. Let me know if you have any questions. So for those of you who are here live, let me know if you've got any questions. Pop them in the comments. Let me know what's landing for you. Give me if you can hear this and audio is really great. I've got my podcast recording at the same time because it's pleasurable to do two things at once and then repurpose. My podcast is the Pleasurepreneur podcast. Go and have a listen if you like podcasts. You'll find that wherever you get your podcasts from. But send me comments if you've got any questions. And for those of you who are watching the replay, send me some DMs. I want to hear about you and your business and what your business desires are and your goals for next year. All right. As I said, I'm also going to be speaking about the mastermind. I'll do that at the end if you want to stick around. But doors are opening today. So that's very exciting. It was going to open earlier at the start of the week and today's the day. So all right, so I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover off before we just dive straight in. No, let me know if you've got any questions. As I said, I feel like you guys are here still listening, so I think the audio is going well. But if anyone can give me a love heart, that would be great, just so I can be sure. When I start working with clients, it's not like we sit down and we go through them step by step. We look at what's not working for you right now, what doesn't feel pleasurable, because by the way, if you're trying to force yourself to do stuff that doesn't feel good, it's going to be a slog. It's going to deplete you. It's going to drain your energy. It's going to reduce your confidence because you're not going to have the motivation to do it. And therefore, you're not going to create the results that you want to create, right? So when you can work out what it is that brings you pleasure in your business, what you desire to do in your business, you have found an untapped, you have found an infinite resource of natural energy and inspiration and motivation. Now, there is actually physiological reasons for that. So that's our reward system, which just briefly before I tap into the framework, when we are doing something or when we're going to experience pleasure, even the anticipation of pleasure, if we know we're going to participate in something that brings us pleasure, or even just the anticipation of pleasure, that creates a dopamine surge in our brain. And that dopamine surge creates that sense of pleasure that motivates us towards the thing, right? And so if you are able to weave pleasure into your business, there are going to be things that you just can't wait to do, can't wait to practice. And so a big part of everything we do really focuses on a core thread of pleasure. So remember that. So if you're watching the replay or if you're watching live now and you're like, oh, actually I feel uncomfortable, or I want to have a drink, or I want to put the aircon on, it's really hot here today, so I'm probably going to start sweating, but that's okay. Yeah, if you want to make it a little bit more pleasurable for yourself, do that right now. Okay, so let's dive in. The 5 parts of the Pleasurepreneur Framework. Number 1, you want to make sure that you have an offer that pleases you. So the history of the word pleasure comes from plaisir, comes from like the definition of pleases. It pleases you. So you want to make sure you comb through your offer, whatever it is you're offering to the world, and make sure that every element within there pleases you. I used to work nights coaching clients, especially mama clients, because that's what I thought I needed to do. And then I remembered that I only wanted to do what felt good for me in my business. And so I stopped coaching at nighttime. And my sales after that, like calling in clients, was so much easier after that because I didn't have the resistance of evening coaching calls that didn't bring me pleasure. If you are trying to force yourself to do something that doesn't bring you pleasure, you'll know this. There's resistance, right? The other day on Monday, we took our kids to Jamboree, which if you're not local, it is like a big water park, a recreational water park. And it's so fun. And the kids had a massive day. And it was about 4 o'clock when we were leaving. And I said to my 3-year-old Thea, I said, can you try and stay awake? And she said, I don't want to stay awake. I want to sleep. And I thought, I know she's not going to stay awake because she doesn't want to. If we are trying to force ourselves to operate in our business or to offer things that we don't want to, things that don't bring us pleasure, there is going to be so much resistance to it. It's going to drain us. It's going to be like my 3-year-old daughter trying to keep her eyelids open. Like, it's not going to happen. So I want you to consider what it is you're offering and does it please you? Yeah. And when you start to think about, for me, when I was coaching in the evenings, number 1, I was like, I don't really want to. Number 2, I'm also not that great of coaching in the evenings. I'm a morning kind of gal. And then I started to see, okay, so oftentimes we don't let ourselves choose the thing that pleases us because we're too busy pleasing others. Especially us women, we are so good at being such great people pleasers. And so this is why it can be really hard or there can be such resistance to stepping into letting yourself do what you want and do what brings you pleasure in your business, because there's a lot of socialized conditioning to unpack there. I help you with that. Yeah. So when we are allowing ourselves just to do what brings us pleasure, there might come up a lot of stuff. Like some stuff can come to the surface of, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. Oh, but the clients will want this or that. If that comes up, I want you to consider, what are the benefits to you giving yourself what you want? What are the benefits to you doing what pleases you? And not just the benefits to you, but I want you to consider, what are the benefits to my people, such as your family, your kids, your partner, your loved ones? What are the benefits to your community, your clients, your online community, your local community? I know, like my school community where my kids go, because I can work part-time hours, I'm there every second week in the permaculture garden giving them a hand. Also then consider, what are the benefits to my clients if I do what pleases me? What are the benefits to their people? And what are the benefits to their community? There is such a ripple effect to you offering to the world exactly what you want to offer, exactly what pleases you. Yeah. And as I started to understand this and I started to go through this process of, okay, so if I do what pleases me, for example, not coaching in the evenings, how does that benefit my client? And immediately I got 10 benefits as to why that would benefit my clients. First of all, I'm like so much better coaching during the day rather than the evenings. Second of all, I'm not tired. List out, go to the benefits of everyone else. Like, how does everybody else benefit as well as you doing what brings you pleasure? There is a reason that you have desires to do certain things. Yeah. And I don't think we'll touch on that today because I could talk about that forever. I'm going to go into the second part, but first I'll read some comments here. Simone says, I think I have a block to pleasure. Welcome. Yes, if you are a woman, especially a mother in today's society, you'll absolutely have some socialized cultural conditioning around experiencing pleasure. There is a whole number of reasons why. It is all absolutely possible to peel away. I talk about it in my book about when you've got a tangled necklace and you really want to get that knot out. It feels really tight. I say pleasure is the thing that kind of massages it out to loosen it. And so pleasure, there's a whole chapter in my book about pleasure is the tool for self-discovery and liberation. And that's what I uncovered when my yoga and meditation tools didn't help me with my perinatal mood disorders. That's what I discovered when all of my knowledge of exercise physiology and biology and neurology didn't help me to let myself nourish myself as a mother, right? It's what led me to having these perinatal mood disorders because I wasn't looking after myself, because I wasn't letting myself do what I want and do what was right for me. Low battery, of course. So yeah, that is absolutely normal. And it's absolutely possible to unpack those, to untangle those knots of that golden thread. You said, I think I used to get attention when I had it hard. Oh, of course. Is there any suggestion on how to move through this? Yes, Simone, I've written a whole book on this. So my book is called A Mother's Pleasure, and all of the practices, the activities, the conversations in there can also be transferable to business. If you like podcasts, the whole book is a free audio book on my podcast. So every episode is a chapter from in my book. My podcast is called the Pleasurepreneur Podcast. So Matt's here too. Hello. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, Simone. There is so much that can be done. So also too, some really beautifully simple practices and simple uncoverings. There's so much there that I can help you with. Hence why I wrote the book. So number one, I want you to ensure that you look over your offer and you make sure that every element of that offer pleases you. Make sure that it's what you want to offer, because if it's not what you want to offer, there'll be resistance and therefore you won't want to sell it and therefore you won't call in clients because you actually don't want to go through with it. Does that make sense? Okay, Abby, you're saying, I'd love to know how to bring more pleasure into parenting as a single mum and not get frustrated by parenting, to then bring this into business and feeling a life of pleasure. You are in the right place, my love. Yes, this is exactly where you want to be. If you go to, there's a whole chapter in my book called Parenting with Pleasure. So you can find that as an audiobook on the podcast as well. Go there. I think it's one of my most downloaded episodes as well. So I think that's really highly in demand for others as well. Yeah. Parenting, motherhood and business are such incredible vehicles for personal growth at hyperspeed. You guys are such badasses doing both, right? Instagram's telling me I'm been on here for long enough today. Yeah, we're such badasses for doing both motherhood and business. Yeah, there is such potential for such personal growth. Okay, so number one, make sure we're only at number one. We might even make a part 2 of this. Number one, make sure you have an offer that pleases you and that you are doing what you want. Number 2, and yes, obviously there's work to do around that if it feels uncomfortable to do that. The second part of this part of the framework is within the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind and within the work I do with my clients, we're ensuring that we are crafting high ticket offers so that we're not having to exhaust ourselves, deplete ourselves, use a whole bunch of our time, energy, and attention trying to sell a lot of these small ticket offerings. We look at how we can get you to a place in your mindset to where you feel really comfortable and where you've got such value in what you offer that you are offering high ticket offerings. So this is roughly $1,000 plus. That's not to say that free trainings, low investment offerings aren't part of the strategy. They absolutely are and absolutely can be. And you can mold them in a way that feels really fun and pleasurable and exciting for you, such as me offering this free training on Instagram. So yeah, ensure you find an offer that pleases you. Look at your offer suite. Look at what you're offering. Are you killing yourself trying to sell 10 spots in a women's circle every single month? And that's a full-time job. Some key principles for this first part. I'm just repeating what I've got here, but what we've already spoken about. You must love your offer and every aspect of delivering it. This ensures you're naturally motivated to promote it and sell it. Some strategies that we do tune into are identifying your zone of genius and building your offer around it. Because when we tune into your zone of genius, it's so easy. And a lot of the times my client don't realize their zone of genius because it just seems so like basic bitch information to them. They're like, isn't that obvious? Doesn't everyone know that? And I'm like, no, it's because it's your zone of genius. That's one of the strategies for this component of the framework. A second strategy is we package your expertise in a way that creates deep transformation to your clients. So again, this is making sure that what you're offering has got such value. You can see the value of what it is you're offering so that you want to shout it from the rooftops. You will not have that icky, salesy, pushy fear of judgment around selling your offer when it pleases you and when you can see how valuable it is to your ideal clients. And the last strategy I'll touch on is price, because there's always conversations around pricing our packages. We set a price that feels both expansive and aligned with the value you deliver. So I always say to my clients, it's a silly word, but I always say you want to find the price that vajazzles you, right? Like it feels fun and exciting, but also a little bit like, a little bit scary. Yeah. So that's part one of the framework. So creating an offer that pleases you. Let me know if you've got any questions. Number two, the second part of the framework. This is all about calling in your most nourishing client, right? It's about attracting and becoming magnetic towards your ideal client. Yeah. Our focus is knowing your ideal client so well that calling them in feels effortless and exciting. Yeah. So a big part of what I dive in with my clients with, and a big part of the mastermind, is ensuring, particularly like upfront, like we do a lot of this work ahead of time. If you get into the mastermind before we officially start, the first accelerator, like pre-week, we workshop a number of these elements. One of those workshops, we spend a whole hour workshopping who your ideal client is. So you don't spend the 5 months of the mastermind or however long after that in your business speaking to people who aren't your ideal client, speaking to people who aren't ready to buy, speaking to people who don't see the value in what you offer. Sometimes it's just some little shifts. So I think back to when I was coaching mothers who wanted to experience more pleasure in business. And I had this thought that seemed like truth for me. And this is why it's so great to have a coach, because oftentimes you're not questioning what you think is truth, right? You will not question what you think is truth. And I had this truth, in inverted commas, right? I had this idea of what was true in my mind, which was most mums aren't really ready to open to pleasure yet. Like it's taboo. Maybe, and it was a nice stroke to my ego as well to think, I'm ahead of the game. I'm like a pioneer in this conversation. But most mothers aren't ready to open to pleasure yet. And so therefore, my content, my messaging, my marketing, I was speaking to the mothers who aren't ready to open to pleasure yet. So I was trying to like help them get ready to experience more pleasure, or help them to like peel back any of those layers that's stopping them from being ready. But what I needed to do was think about the women who were in my audience now and who are out in the world now that I could help now, who were ready to open to pleasure. And so I changed that thought simply from thinking, not many mothers are ready to open to pleasure, to there are plenty of mothers ready to open to pleasure. And that little switch and that shift to speaking to my ideal client who is ready to open to pleasure, not the ones that are perhaps like not quite ready yet, that shift in knowing who my most nourishing ideal client is made such a huge difference. It made, I say, like it went from calling clients felt like a trickle. It went from a trickle to a stream, literally from just shifting that thought. And this is what we do in our work together. We look at some of those thoughts that you think are truthful and we craft them in a way so that you see it in a whole new light. And one of those ways is we think about what it is you think your potential clients are thinking. There is such huge room for growth from my own personal experience and those of my clients. This is a key piece for growth in terms of growing your business and calling in your ideal clients. Like changing what you think your clients are thinking. Oftentimes we are unintentionally disempowering our clients. Or our potential clients, the people in our audience, such as I was thinking, oh, not many mothers are ready to open to pleasure yet. No, Regan, of course they are. Like, don't disempower them like that. Or pitying them, thinking like, oh, they don't have the money for it, or they don't fill in the blank. We want to ensure that we are really thinking about our clients with really empowering thoughts. Yeah. And so also, we want to ensure that those clients that we're thinking about are our ideal clients so that we make the most of our time and energy, so that the time we do spend on our socials or on our podcast or mailing list or whoever it is you're talking to out in the real world, we're ensuring that we are utilizing that time and energy to take that needle moving action. Yeah. So if you could be talking to a whole bunch of like people in general who are not your most ideal nourishing clients, then you're not going to call in those most ideal nourishing clients. Yeah. So we make the best of the time and the energy and the attention that we have. Yeah. This is how I can work part-time hours and still have really incredible months in my business financially and work with incredible, most nourishing clients. Abby said, we are so ready. We need it, right? Yeah. Okay. So some strategies for calling in your most nourishing client that we look at is creating messaging that speaks directly to your ideal client's desires, more so than their struggles. Like the old bro marketing of talk to their pain points. No. If you go to the Mastermind sales page, you'll see I'm talking to you in where you're at in terms of what you desire, in terms of how you're already kicking ass. Because I know, especially women, we're driven by desire. We all are. It would be like if you want to get your kids to eat dinner, if you give them, I don't know, let's go the cliche like Brussels sprouts and they don't like Brussels sprouts, they're not going to take action and eat, right? I'm not saying don't feed your kids healthy stuff, but yeah, so we want to make sure that the messaging speaks directly to our ideal clients, their desires and struggles, and like really knowing who that ideal client is, really knowing who our most nourishing client is. But you'll get to a point where, you know, the messaging that you're offering, you'll have your clients or your ideal clients coming to you, your potential clients, people in your audience saying, oh my God, are you inside my head? That's exactly what I was thinking this week, because you are really getting clear on who your most nourishing client is. The second strategy is, of course, showing up authentically online to build trust and resonance. So I swear that's obvious. It would be quite jarring to my clients if I didn't swear when I was speaking on lives like this or on my socials, and then they started working with me and I was swearing in our coaching container together. Like, I want to be the most authentically me person I can be at home with my kids, on screen, on Instagram, out in the surf with my friends. I want to call in, the way we call in our most ideal, most nourishing clients is by being us. Your most nourishing ideal client wants to work with you because you are you, and she or he believes that you can help them. Yeah. Ensuring that we really break down some of the stuff that we think we should be presenting ourselves as, or we are perhaps censoring ourselves, or again, perhaps we're people pleasing when we don't want to. Yeah. So that's one of our strategies. We want to ensure that we're showing up authentically to build that trust and resonance. And the last one is we look at how we really use storytelling and human connection so that you can connect with your audience from a human level. All right, I'm going to jump straight into number 3 because I'm looking at the time. We've got about 15 minutes to go, and at 2:00 I have a phone call. So let's get this show on the road. It's not your fault. It's mine. I know I can talk a lot. Like I need to write a whole nother new book. Number 3, sell like the pleasurepreneur that you are. This is part of our framework, is about selling like the pleasurepreneur that you are. So pleasure-driven selling. And this is all about selling in a way that feels pleasurable and not pushy. We really dived into this recently when I was doing my masterclass called Swoon. It was all about falling in love with selling, and we're still coaching in the Telegram group. If you want access to that, let me know. I can send it to you. But really, there is so much work that can be done for us to peel back all of those layers or all of that conditioning around women and selling. Like, just type into ChatGPT, what are the top 10 beliefs around women and selling? ChatGPT sounds like the most misogynistic, I don't know, AI person ever. And it's not that ChatGPT is misogynistic. It's just that within our society, the idea of women selling has so many negative connotations and so many, negative connections that, like, as a woman in business, we don't start like at, like a baseline. We don't start at zero when it comes to learning to sell. We start in the red. We start in negative because we've got so much of this socialized conditioning around what it means to be a good woman in business, or what it means to be a good woman, and how it's like unfeminine to sell, and how like we should focus on nurturing rather than selling, and like all of this kind of stuff. So we work on how we make selling pleasurable for you. I love selling. I love selling my offerings. I'm so excited that I am in the launch phase of the Pleasurepreneur right now, because I know the results that creates for people. I know how I can help people create multiple 4-figure months in their business whilst amplifying their pleasure in life, in their family, in their relationships. And so for me, I have no hesitation to sell because I've done the work to understand how I can sell with pleasure. Yeah. So that's what that third part of the framework is. The key principle here is when selling becomes a natural extension of your passion, it's easier to show up consistently. Again, if you can bring pleasure into selling, you're going to want to do it. If you want to do it, that means there is desire for it. If there is desire, that means welcome, you've opened the floodgates to the infinite resource of energy and motivation. Find what you desire and you'll never have to work. It won't feel like work for you because you're like, yeah, I want to do that. And you'll tend to lean towards those things. So you work out how you can sell with pleasure, what you desire, and it will become so easy. And it does. It feels natural. It feels like part of a conversation. Some strategies to sell like a pleasurepreneur to ensure that you have pleasure-driven selling is we reframe selling as service and connection. Yeah, you are connecting your help, your solution, your result with the person who wants that solution, that result. Yeah? Can you hear the thunder? So it's making that connection, and it is service. I talked about this is almost like a promo for my podcast. But anyway, there's a whole episode on selling as service in my podcast. And I was like relating the analogy of going dress shopping. Jake and I are off to a wedding interstate for a few nights next year. We've not been away from the kids for more than like a few hours before. So we're like, I'm so excited. I'm already like dress shopping. But I was talking to a client when we were talking about selling and service. And imagine if I went into a dress store and they weren't open that day because they didn't want to be pushy and they didn't want me to take the dress with me. They wanted me to wait a few days to make sure that I didn't feel pressured to buy it. And all of this stuff that we do online when it's our service-based business, I would be so annoyed. I'm like, please, I want to find a dress that I love that I can wear to the wedding and hopefully maybe even do that quickly so I've got more time to have a kid-free coffee while I'm out. So yeah, part of the strategy of learning to sell like a pleasurepreneur is making sure that selling a service. Number 2, in terms of strategies around selling a service, and by the way, there is so many more strategies, like so many more things that I can help you with. And it's not to say you need everyone, right? There is a different type of strategy for whatever it might be that you feel challenged by. We also ensure that we develop a sales process that prioritizes relationship building. I'm not interested in seeing clients as numbers. I'm not interested in celebrating the fact that, I've made X amount of money, but yet that was probably more so what I might have done in the first part of my business when I was brand new. Oh, yay. Like I've made some money. That validates me. That validates my work. Now I celebrate my clients because I'm so happy for them. I'm so excited for the journey that they're about to embark on. Like the pleasure they're going to have, the money they're going to make, the pride and sense of accomplishment, like the growth of their business and what they're going to share with the world. I'm so excited for. So yeah, we ensure that we focus on relationship building. And of course, we create a launch strategy that minimizes stress and maximizes results. So if you're launching a program, such as a group program, there will be a launch phase. If you are someone who is a mentor or a coach and you only offer one-on-one coaching, or you mostly throughout the year, if you're not launching a group, say once a year, there is a different kind of strategy. So we want to ensure that what you are doing in terms of selling is actually creating results for you, not just creating work for you. Yeah, we want to make sure it's creating the results, at creating the income, the impact, and bringing those clients to you so that they can get the results that you can help them with. All right, let's touch base on Abby's. You got some comments here. You said, bringing in more income for my family would be so liberating, way less stress, right? And so often we can think, oh no, I don't want to invest in, I've had this experience before too. I don't want to invest in business coaching because that's going to cost me money. And I want to make sure I can make the money first so that I can pay for it. Or maybe I have to do it on my own first. There's a lot of that I know for myself. Like I need to be independent, do it on my own. But when you are working with a coach who has had the experience of learning to sell and ensuring that we are talking to your most nourishing client, and like a lot of these pieces, like the framework I'm sharing with you here, when you can get some help to do that, you keep those skills. When you learn how to sell, you make sales. And so you keep that skill. So you take it with you. So yeah, bringing in an income is literally a learnable skill. Bringing in an income for your family is a learnable skill. Okay, the third strategy here. Oh, I already spoke about that. That was the launch strategy. And another one too that I want to mention just very briefly, because I know we're short for time, is that we want to ensure that selling as like a pleasurepreneur is doing it in a way that is authentic to you and is, you really find your own unique selling style. So that might be different. For the women who are in the mastermind, I'm not telling everyone the same kind of strategy, or it's not that one fits all. This is a place where you work out what feels authentic and aligned for you. Yeah? All right. We've got two more pillars of this divine pleasurepreneur framework. How are we going? Good? Amazing. Okay. All right. So our fourth pillar is having a desire-led sustainable strategy. So the main focus of this is making sure that we're structuring your business to generate those multiple four-figure months without burning out. Yeah, so we want to ensure that we're using desire. And I think I've spoken enough on this training about what desire can do for us in terms of making sure that we are staying energized, we're making the most use of our time and our energy and our attention. So the key principle with this pillar is that we want to ensure that we're creating a sustainable, how do I say this? Like a sustainable success. Yeah, sustainable success, which comes from focusing on desire-driven, needle-moving activities and having super simple systems in place. Like one of my systems is literally I write down my to-do list in the notes section of my phone. I often have my phone with me, so that's great. I have my to-do list, and whenever I have time, maybe that's 10 minutes while the kids are playing at the skate park, or I don't know, hubby gets home from work early and he's playing with the kids. I'm like on my to-do list, and I'm like, oh, what feels most desirable to do right now? Unless, of course, I have commitments with clients or other people. I choose what I desire most. Now, that's using a very simple system, right? It's not exactly sophisticated, but it works. Like, we just find some systems that are really simple that work for you. Yeah. So that you're not missing things, so that you're not forgetting things. We make sure that we make it really simple. So some of those strategies is we simplify your business model to prioritize what drives results. Yeah. So again, like that could be looking at, for example, ensuring that you have that high ticket offer that you can be selling. So your main focus would be going on that. You're spending your time, energy, and attention on that main offer, and you're ensuring that what you're actually doing, the actions that you're taking, the activities would you call it activities? The tasks that you're doing are actually going to lead towards that result. We want to make sure there's alignment and congruence with the result that you want to create, yeah, and the work that you're actually doing. So if you find yourself really busy, but not creating the income that you want, if you find yourself exhausted, feeling like you're close to burnout, like sick of being on your phone, not being present with your kids, and also not creating those multiple four-figure months in your business or whatever your income goal is, if you're not creating that income, that tells me that you're not doing the actions that actually move the needle. Yeah. So like we look at, make sure that where you're spending your time, the things that you're actually doing in your business are making a difference. Yeah. Okay. Other strategies, we want to make sure we use a manageable content strategy to nurture the people in your audience. And our last strategy is we want to automate repetitive tasks so you can focus on your genius work. Sometimes this is a pain in the bum. Hey, Cass, nice to see you. Sometimes this feels like a pain in the bum. Oh, great. Now I need to like plan. I don't know. Now I need to like maybe I've got to put a process in place. Yeah. Or maybe we think that it's going to take a lot longer than what it needs to. But oftentimes, like there will be some repetitive things that we can automate. I love automating anything and everything. Even just to automate an email to my mailing list, even if it's just for like in an hour's time. Why? Because that feels so supportive to me. Yeah, I've written the email, but then I'll get a little message on my phone. Thank you, MailChimp. MailChimp has sent my email off for me. I'm like, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, we make sure that like the systems and the processes that you are using in your business actually correlate with the results you want to create, actually are simple for you, and really ensure that, yeah, they're moving the needle. You're making the most of the time and the energy and the attention that you're placing on your business. So you're also having that balance, that blend of business and the rest of the stuff that you love outside of your business. The last pillar is our pleasure first mindset. So this is all about balancing business growth with rest, play, and personal fulfillment. I have so much to share on this, but ultimately I've written here, the more pleasure and rest you allow yourself, the more magnetic and effective you become. Yeah. So many strategies to this. I'm seeing that we're pushed for time. Do you guys want me to, actually, I don't need to do a part 2, but I do want to share about the mastermind. Let's do that now because pleasure is the main core piece that we do weave through your entire business. That's something that we work on ongoing throughout our work together, whether it's 6 months working with me one-on-one for 9K or 5 months together in the mastermind for 4.5. I hope that I have given you so much that amazing framework to play with. And I want you to audit your business. I want you to comb through and see if you're doing those things. I want you to look at where perhaps you feel like there might be some holes or some challenges where you aren't seeing results out of those 5 pillars. And I want you to come and send me a DM. Let me know what your goals are. Let me know if the mastermind is something that you're considering. Let me know what you're challenged by right now. I might even throw you some recommendations. Yeah. Sharing about the mastermind. Do you guys have any questions to start with? Let me know if you've got any questions. I'll give you a very quick rundown. I'm hoping they don't call me at 2:00. It's an interview for a local publication. I don't want to lose this live. I might just speak to the mastermind now briefly and let me know if you want the link. I can send you the link and we can have a conversation in the DMs. Ultimately, our focus is getting you to those multiple 4-figure months in your business and ensuring that you are leading a pleasure-filled life. Yeah, it's not one or the other. It is both. We work together in a really intimate group. There's only 8 spots available. And we celebrate each other, we support each other, we meet once a week, and there's an ongoing Voxer channel as well, which will actually be Telegram this time round. And I'm in there coaching you 3 days a week. Plus you've got that 1 call each week. We've got a whole bunch of bonuses as well. I realize I'm going to wrap up here. I've hardly spoken about the mastermind, but I will because I'm going to be sharing about it for the next few weeks. The launch is now open. The doors are open. The launch has started. Come and tell me like what it is you want to create in your business for next year. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know what has been your takeaway from this live training, whether that is actually bring it into the comments. Let me know what your takeaway is and let me know what you're desiring to create in your business and your life for 2025. Bye for now.